Stop making assumptions. Hey, got your scared heads. It's your girl Charlotte. Look, when you see, I think it's important for us to stop making assumptions. Every time when we see a fat person or even a skinny person, we just make assumptions. Oh, they're not physically fit. Oh, they're lazy. Oh, they overeat. Oh, they this, that, and the other. And guess what? More times than not, all that stuff is so untrue. I mean, you just don't know. People look at me and they're like, you do ultra marathons? And then I've learned over the years, like, and you could tell there's like a glazed over look over their faces and their eyes because it doesn't compute. It just doesn't compute. And the reason why it doesn't compute is because you've made assumptions that you hold deeply. You believe that stuff. And I'm here to tell you, stop making assumptions. Okay, y'all, I'm here because I ran across another article. I want to jump right into it. Let's see what's going on here. All right. So I read this article. It's really about the misconceptions that we have about bigger-bodied athletes. You know, what's true and what's not true. And so this article really talked about how there's a lot of common misconceptions, not only misconception, but biases. And that's what I mean by making an assumption. When you stop making an assumption, you no longer engage your unconscious and or conscious bias. So, and how this is happening, there's a prevalence of it in endurance sports and in the whole entire kind of sports athletic community. All right, y'all, I need to wet my lips up. Okay, all right, so some of the things it talks about, as I mentioned before, it's like body size. Do y'all realize that body size has no indication of what's going on physically for that person? There are some of us that are in bigger bodies and we're healthier than people that are like 1/4 our size, right? Yet they're given the consideration, is what I'll call it for now. They are assumed to be healthy when in fact they are completely unhealthy. There are times when I've been in workshops, I have been in the company of other folks, skinny folks, and I outran them. I outlasted them. I was stronger than them. But nobody thought that. They just thought, oh, she's fat. She's not going to be able to do anything. So, and then when I outperformed them, then they got mad. Then they tried to get competitive. It's like, I'm like, little bit, why did you get here overnight? So don't get it twisted. You ain't going to get there overnight either. So that body size is not a reliable indicator of health or fitness. And exercise habits are more important. What a person's exercise habit, I think this is what this is saying, I don't want to read it verbatim, is that is more of an indication of a person's health. If somebody's telling you I get up every day and I go for a walk, there's somebody who's saying they don't even walk at all. That's more of an indication of somebody's health. That's what we need to be paying attention to. But a lot of times we don't give people the luxury or the opportunity to share what it is they're doing around their health. We just think we look at their bodies and we can make that assumption, and we know when you don't know. Secondly, control. Woo! I do think that a lot of people assume that because a person is overweight, that they have no control over their eating. And the truth is there are some super, super, super skinny people who have no control over their eating. And in fact, there has research been done about this, and there are people that have shared their stories about how they have eaten 3-4 times more than any fat person, and yet they remain skinny. So we gotta understand that these bodies are complex. They're interesting, they're dynamical, they do their own thing. And so therefore, you can't make any assumptions about people's capacity to control or not control their eating. Also, there's, I think, metabolism. For instance, if your metabolism is slow, then of course your food is not gonna be digested as fast as anybody else's. And that's not something you can see on the outside. That's something that happens on the inside. So you can't be making any assumptions about how people control their eating. They could be eating one thing per day and still putting on weight because of there's other things going on in their body that contributes to them gaining weight. Also, it really talked about how it's just not, dieting is just not that simple. And I have a whole theory about all this, and I'm gonna talk to you about this theory in another video, but dieting does not necessarily improve a person's health. It might be able to help somebody short term, but consistently over their life, dieting, I fundamentally believe that people need to move into a nutrient-dense intake plan. That we should be measuring the nutrients that we're getting in the foods that we're eating versus how many calories, quite honestly. And like I said, I got a whole theory about that. I'll share with you in another video, so feel free to watch that one. All right. And then the next thing is talking about how larger athletes are often mistakenly assumed to be beginners. It's like, and how this is frustrating for us. And on many levels, fucking disrespectful. I was trying to put fuck in the middle of that. Disrespect. Yeah, anyways, I was trying to blend all together. It didn't work. But anyways, I'm just saying that, look. Nothing irritates me more when I go to a race and people just make the assumption like, good job, glad you're here, good luck. Like, it is always super fucking hilarious when I pass their ass, okay? When I finish way before them and I'm doing just fine. Yeah, so again, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. Stop making fucking assumptions. Like, you gotta get to know people. You know, say to yourself, you know what? I see this person, but I don't know anything about them, so therefore I can't make any assumptions. They could be, you know, an ultramarathoner. Imagine that. Anyways, also, the other thing the article was talking about is that sometimes people choose to stay in their bigger body. And it could be because it's healthy. Every time I think about all these things, as a person with a bigger body who's healthy, who does a lot of amazing things, I'm like, you're really missing out on the picture, guys. You really don't understand. And yeah, so anyways, it says not all athletes in larger bodies are trying to lose weight. Many enjoy their sports in the body that they're in. Amen to that, okay? Secondly, I think the challenge that a lot of us bigger body folks have, which alludes to something I said earlier, how I'll tell people I'm an ultramarathoner and it's like, does not compute. Representation matters. Like if they saw bigger bodies being represented in these different sports or in these different activities or in these multiple different ways, they would have no choice but to not make assumptions, because they'd be like, oh yeah, I saw them in the last 5 ads, you know, for this, or I see their images all over the place. And so therefore, unconsciously, subconsciously, they begin to learn like, oh, I can't make assumptions about, like, I probably should ask this person first before I think I might know something when I don't. So representation matters, says including diverse body types in marketing and media will help make endurance sports more inclusive. And I don't think it'll necessarily make it more inclusive, but I believe that endurance sports have always been inclusive. It's just that you don't see our stories. And also a lot of times when we're in these events and when we're doing these activities, we do get treated shitty. And so therefore, you know, a lot of times it's like it's one thing for me to go do an ultramarathon. It's another thing for me to have to deal with the unconscious bias of other runners. Like, get the fuck out of my face. Like, I'm here to do my race. That is going to take enough. That's going to take all the energy I got to do that. But then now I got to deal with your shenanigans. Woo! Oh, irritating. So, yeah, I'm just saying. All right. And then it says everyone struggles with eating. Eating disorders can affect people of all body sizes, including those in larger bodies. The real situation is that we got a shitty food system. Our food system is so fucked up and shitty. Like, you wonder why we all have eating disorders. Yeah. Think about it. Just think about it. I'm not going to even talk more about that because it's going to make me mad. And then the next thing it talks about is, this is why I started Conscious Gear. Because why on God's green earth should I not be able to go in the store and find a piece of outdoor gear so I could do ultramarathoning? Why can't I? Like, nothing's more irritating to go in and just find that things don't even fit me. My thing is this: how is it that I'll never forget, 10 years ago, 2015, when I did my first ultramarathon, and I really didn't have time to think about this then. right? Because I was too busy. I had gotten to the point where I went from 2 minutes at 2 miles per hour on the treadmill. 16 months later, I was doing my first 50-mile ultra marathon, right? I didn't have time to think about, oh, this gear doesn't fit. It's like I'm hyped. I'm in beast mode. I'm doing this. You hear me? I am doing the damn thing. And so therefore, I just was doing the best that I could to find gear that fit me. I would look at the measurements. I would go in the stores and I would measure things. I would put it on. I figure out, well, how could I like maybe shift it a little bit so it fit me okay, and I could tolerate it, while I'm doing this ultra marathon. Because some ultra marathons, it's a requirement to have a hydration pack or vest. It's non-negotiable. It's not an option. It's mandatory. And so therefore, but how is it that I'm going in the stores and there's nothing that fit me? And now again, I didn't spend a lot of time in the beginning thinking about this, but afterwards, as I began to do more races, I said to myself, how short-sighted, how much of a big assumption that brands and people are making that a bigger-bodied person wouldn't ultimately one day need this, right? Or ultimately one day get to the point where they could use it and want to buy it. How fucking short-sighted is that? I need to move on because I'm getting upset about it. Because it irritates me when I go in the store and I can't find shit to fit me. I'm just like, really, bitches? Really? There's a couple areas. I'm gonna do some videos. I'm gonna do a video on the top sports that commit crimes against bigger bodies, because y'all foul as fuck. And I'm gonna tell you about yourselves, but not in this video. This is about the research. Anyways, the other thing the next thing I want to talk about is anti-fat bias. How real it is and how prevalent it is in society and in sports communities, that there's assumption. And this is the thing. Oh God, this whole video is making me mad. It's just triggering me. But the thing about it is like, I love myself. I know what the fuck I can do. I'm a beast, bitches. And so I don't give a fuck about your anti-bias. I don't care about your unconscious bias and your subconscious and your overconscious and your underconscious and your ear conscious. I don't give a fuck. Anyways, I've done enough therapy. I have done a reckoning with myself and my infinite intelligence, my co-creator, my spirit, my God, to not be really like impacted by this anti-fat bias. But it's so, I always tell people, it's so fucking comical. It's like a rerun on replay, right? It's like you go in these situations and people be doing the same dumb anti-fat bias shit. It is comical because it's like, oh, all y'all motherfuckers got the same script. And sometimes I just want to laugh because I'm like, really? Can y'all come up with some original shit? Can y'all like test me out? Can y'all like challenge me a little bit? Give me something new, fresh, funky. You know what I mean? Help me out. But it's so funny. And it's so funny how culturally acceptable it is. How socially agreed upon it is, because you could be in the groups and the whole motherfucking group will engage in that behavior collectively. And you sitting there thinking to yourself, now one of these motherfuckers is gonna stick up for me. And then you sit there and you realize not nan one. And the other thing about it is too, you think, oh no, but one of these people is in the bigger body. So of course they're gonna stick up with me. And even the one in the bigger body don't even stick up for you. And you're like, really? And that's when you understand the internalized anti-fat bias. The internalized, for me, this is my thing. I know they use this term anti-fat bias, but what I've realized over the years, because I've been contending with this as a business owner, I have no motherfucking choice. I'm an expert at it because I have no choice, because I'm dealing with bigger bodies. So I'm constantly having a conversation about bigger bodies. And what I realize in this world is that really most people are unhappy with their fucking bodies. And they project that shit, particularly on those of us in bigger bodies. And it's sad. It's sad. But it makes me realize, first of all, there's opportunity, right? Which I'm going to tap into, which is helping empower people feel good in their bodies, right? But more importantly, for us to really reconsider our relationships to our bodies, because I think the way society has conditioned us and socialized us to relate to our bodies is ineffective, and it's toxic, it's dysfunctional, it's not good for us. And so as much as I, as much as I want to be hurt by all this stuff, I'm no longer hurt because I understand who and what I am, and I understand how powerful my body is, and I love this body. Yes, and it's taken me a long time to get here. And I'm gonna tell you something: when you start loving your body, ain't a goddamn motherfucking thing anybody can say to you about your body. They can say it, and you'll be like, okay, that's nice, and you keep it moving. But also, when people treat you a certain way, you also like, I understand that. I understand you're projecting your own insecurities on me. I understand that you have your own stuff that you're contending with that you haven't figured out yet. Because my thing is, I can have that compassion for everybody else because I was there. I used to be that person, but I'm no longer that person. And so I say all that to say that, I could have sank into a situation where I felt constantly wounded and hurt and disrespected and all that about the kind of anti-fat bias that I was experiencing, particularly as a business owner. But I'm gonna tell you something, when I crossed the finish line of my first 50-mile ultramarathon, it's not a goddamn thing you can say to me about my body, okay? Not a goddamn thing. Nothing. You can hurl at me all the insults that you want. I got fucking medals. They're downstairs. And me crossing the finish line of ultra marathons. Bitch, what the fuck have you done? And most people have not done that. So therefore, there's not really nothing you can hurl at me. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. Most people that have done ultra marathons don't feel any need to have anti-fat bias or, because they recognize the power of the body, no matter what size it is. And they know that bigger bodies can do the same thing. So as I was saying before, it's like, instead of kind of grounding myself and feeling wounded or feeling like, oh my God, why are people treating me this way? I've decided this is an opportunity for me to shift the paradigm, for me to disrupt, and for me to say to you guys, look, we've been looking at this all fucking wrong. And I think I'm starting to get a glimpse of how to do it right. And so I'll be sharing that in some other videos, so make sure you tune in some of those videos. But oh my God, it's exciting because, I just think it's gonna be so liberating for all bodies. For all bodies. And why that is important is because I realize, yes, a lot of bigger bodies I think we hear more about the impact of how bigger bodies are treated and feel as a result of how they're treated. But there are a lot of other bodies, particularly smaller body folk, who have body dysmorphia and are feeling awful about their bodies, even though they're in a supposedly traditional healthy body. And I want them to feel liberated too. I want them to be connected to the truth of who and what they are as it relates to their body. Yes, I'm excited about this. I'm at the very beginnings of it. So I'm gonna just be sprinkling a little bit of my little theory, which I consider law. Because, I'm an Aquarius, we know everything. Anyways, and because I do think it's gonna help people. And I think it's just gonna help us all feel good about being in the body that we are in. Okay, let me move on this thing. So it says here, bigger bodies in endurance sports. To grow endurance sports and make them more inclusive, it's important to examine and challenge the biases about larger athletes. And also, I want to say this. Not only the biases, when we think about these biases about larger athletes, for those of us in bigger body, we also internalize biases about what we can do in our bigger bodies. And I'm here to tell y'all can do whatever the fuck you want. Like, your body, yes, it's adaptable. It will do what you want it to do. I tell people, you convince your mind and your behind will follow. Yeah, it will. And I'm a living witness that can happen. And so we're all struggling with the bias, right? Whether we're in a bigger body or not. But also, the last thing I want to say, yes, I forgot. Which I will talk more in depth about in another video, and I keep saying about all these other videos, is that really, did y'all know that being in a bigger body really makes you more conducive to doing endurance sports? Why, you ask? Charlotte, what are you talking about? What you talking about, Charlotte? The fact of the matter is that because you're in a bigger body, you have extra fat cells, and those fat cells are what we call stored energy. I know for a fact that when I do my ultramarathons, I eat very little, yet I'm able to complete these endurance races. Why? Because I have stored energy. I see it all the time when I'm at these ultra events, when I see these skinny runners, just their stomach is fucked up. They just can't go on anymore. And the reason why is because they're behind skinny. There's no more stored energy. And unless they eat, they're not going to get the energy that they need to complete the race. But what's really interesting too is that, but then they can't eat enough to get in what they need. They can't eat enough energy to keep them going along. I see it time and time again. Yet I'm telling you, I do slow and steady, honey. Yes, I do slow and steady, and I still cross some finish lines. And I know the reason why I'm able to do it is because I have extra stored energy. Imagine that. Oh. Anyways, let me end this video by saying, like, look, we need greater understanding, which I hope I'm able to bring in a new and profound and dynamic way so that people can shift from the old ways of thinking about this and old traditional ways of thinking about this, and that we gain greater respect, right, for all of our bodies, not just the bigger bodies, all of our bodies. And that is easy for those of us in smaller bodies who feeling shitty about our own bodies to project on bigger bodies because it's just easy to do. But really it's all about you. You need to get checked with you and your body. And then also how that will open up space for more inclusivity, right? Because then we'll stop making fucking assumptions. Yeah, imagine that. And understand that athletes can be in bigger bodies too, and not in just certain sports, but any and every sport. I'm gonna tell y'all something right now. I'm about to start a motherfucking revolution, and y'all gonna start to see bigger bodies on these podiums, and you're gonna be you might be mad, but I don't give a fuck. Honestly, I can't wait till it happens. It's happening as we speak. It's just gonna manifest in just a minute. And so, woo, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you. I'm glad I did this specific article and I talked about it because it really is an opportunity for me to kind of start making you guys aware of some of the thinkings that I've been doing and how I really want to talk about bodies. Yeah, I'm excited about it because I just know it's gonna save so many people's lives and they're just gonna feel good in their bodies, and the world is just gonna be an amazing place. Take good care of yourselves, conscious gearheads. Woo! I love you. I really do. I'll see you in the next video now. Peace and love.